Okay, hello MVLA parents and students. You are logged into the session Athletic Recruiting for Future College Athletes. If you are not in the right session, please return to the Countdown website for the correct link. Our guest speaker today is Jennifer J.T. Thomas. She is a former college soccer coach at UC Berkeley and former college counselor at Maybeck High School. JT will provide insights into the recruiting process for all divisions of intercollegiate athletics. JT's experience as a college soccer player, commentator for the Women's Professional Soccer League, high school athletic director, and current competitive soccer coach gives her a unique perspective on both sides of the student-athlete college search. She's also been a parent in the process. JT, take it away.
Thank you for the intro, because I'm going fast tonight because I only have an hour and I usually do these in an hour 15. So hang on for the ride here. Thanks for the intro. There's all the information. The only thing I'm going to say on this, this slide is the hardest part of all of this was being a parent in the process. So for you parents out there, hang on for the ride because it is hard. And I even knew the process well, but dealing with my own kid was very challenging in this process. So it was rewarding, but challenging. So, okay. If you have questions, put them in the chat. I'm going to speak quickly. So chat away and they'll get thrown to me at the end. What I am going to do right now is kill your athletic college dreams. Okay. Like was said before, I'm very honest about this process and it's not easy. Okay. Take a look at these numbers. And I have some of you guys, there's softball, right? 5.6 of girls softball players will go off and play in the NC2A. 5.6 of high school will play in the NC2A. That is a very small number. Okay. Look at volleyball, even smaller. Okay. 3.9 for division 1, 2, and 3. My sport, 7.2, that's still a small number. And the biggest percentage is obviously women's ice hockey, because it's a very particular sport. If your sport is not on here and you want to see how hard it is to get to college from your sport, you can go to the NC2A website and see this. But the point here is, these are the numbers. This is how competitive it is. You need to be good at your sport. You need to be training all the time. You need to be training when you're not with your coach and your team. You need to be taking care of business because you need to be good and you need to be seen, right? There's no guarantees in this process, as I know, working with so many athletes, my own players, my own son, but I'm just going to kill the dream for 2 more slides. So bear with me. Don't leave yet, okay? Because then I'm going to build us back up because we're all jocks and we all want to play sports. Okay, second kill the dream slide is called reality check you, the money, okay? I'm going to tell you right now that not everyone gets a full ride. You're going to hear about these full rides. You're going to hear over and over, oh, my son got a full ride or my daughter got a full ride, blah, blah, blah. A full ride is tuition, books, room and board, and everything, okay? It's a full scholarship to play college. And usually in most sports, they're a 1-year scholarship. There are not a lot of those, okay? If we're talking about football, because I know we have one football player at least on here, football, you have 85 full rides in Division I football in college, okay? 85 full rides. So if you get one of those, you get everything paid for. If you're the 86th guy, you get $0, okay? That's called a head count sport. So you get all or nothing. Women's soccer, on the other hand, men's soccer, on the other hand, Olympic sports, women's soccer has 14 full rides allowed by the NC2A, split amongst 35 players. So some are getting a book scholarship, some are getting tuition, room and board, some are getting nothing, and they're a preferred walk-on. On the men's side, it's even worse. They're only allowed 9 full scholarships. So when you're hearing, I'm getting a full ride, it may be true, it may not be true. This student athlete may be a unicorn. They may be one of the top players in the countries. And yeah, they're getting a full ride, but the reality is 2% of athletes are going to get scholarships to college. So my key to you is do well in school, because there is way more merit money out there than there is athletic aid out there. Okay. And the odds of landing a college scholarship in many major sports are lower than the chances of being admitted to Harvard or Stanford. And we know those numbers are extremely low. Okay. So don't just think about finances, think about fit, think about academics and how you can get money other ways, because it may not happen through sport. Okay. Third, kill the dream. And sorry, this is kind of the big monster slide and the biggest dream killer of all, just because so many trends have happened recently throughout COVID that have changed the way college coaches are recruiting freshmen in our country. So there are three major things that happened. One, COVID. We've been talking about it. We all went through it. It was terrible. This is why we're doing so many Zooms, which is one of the benefits I think of it. If athletes in college played the 2020 season during the pandemic, that season does not count against them in the total amount they can play by the NC2As. So you used to only be able to play 4 seasons and you got a 5th if you got injured, a redshirt season. Now you play 5 seasons if you played in 2020 and a 6th if you get injured. So you could be in college playing for 6 years like my son is. He was a 2020 college freshman, okay? So how does this impact? Seniors aren't leaving. They're staying their extra year. So coaches are recruiting fewer freshmen for the class because their scholarship money is going to these 5th-year seniors or 6th-year seniors. Now, if you are a 25, 26, this is probably going to hurt you. But after that, then it's going to open up again because all those COVID athletes will have graduated. So that's one thing. Second thing, transfer portal was created in 2018. The transfer portal made it so that student athletes can easily leave one school if they're not happy with the school, the team, the coach, the academics, whatever it is, and transfer without punishment to another athletic program. Now, that didn't used to be the way it could happen. So right now, if you Google transfer portal, you're going to get a ton of articles because all sorts of athletes are putting their name in the transfer portal. How this impacts you as high school athletes is college coaches are now saying, oh, I could take a junior who's played for 2 years at Sonoma State into my program instead of going for a freshman, and they have 2 years of veteran status on the field. So maybe they're going to take an older player over a freshman, and they're going to, instead of build their program, they're going to fill it with transfers, which is happening, okay? So that's also decreasing the amount of rostered freshmen that coaches are looking for in each class, okay? Third thing, international athletes. You're not only competing against each other and every kid in our country that plays in your sport, you're competing against the globe now, okay? And I know we said there was a tennis player in here. Look at the tennis numbers. 64% of men's and women's tennis players in colleges in Division I are not from our country, okay? Now, I love the international game. Obviously, I'm a soccer coach. We love the international game. But what this means for you is now you're competing against internationals. There are 12% internationals in Division I sports, and they're in certain sports, as you can see, okay? Some sports are still very much, domestic kids. Now, the result of all of this and what you need to worry about is there are fewer roster spots for high school students transferring into freshman year, okay? Fewer roster spots and more competition for them. So what do? What you do is you enlarge your list of colleges. You don't just look at your dream school and 3 others around it. You look at many other schools. You look at many other divisions, conferences, associations. You look at geographical locations you may not have thought you were interested in, okay? So you think outside the box when you're building your list. You go to your counselors on campus and you ask them to help you look at different schools. We will do that during this presentation. So I'm asking you to cast a wide net. Don't just think about finances, think about fit, think about academics, think about size, location, region of the country, weather, and student vibe. What are the things that you want in a college experience? Because we always have to consider the broken leg test, right? You have a career-ending injury in high school, which I don't wish on any of you, but if that happens, and it does happen, are you happy at your school? Is this the school you were meant to go to? Is this your best fit school? Okay, so enough of the negative. Sorry about that. Let's go back to the positive. And I'm just going to start it with playing college sports was the best 4 years of my life. All my older friends, my mom friends right now think that is just the pathetic thing, but it was the best 4 years of my life. I made friends that I'm with all the time. They are aunties to my son. I've been at their weddings and everything for their children, right? This experience, it's like your current experience on your club team or your high school team, like winning an NCS or winning a state team. It's like that times 100, Okay. Because you're living, eating, drinking, sleeping, competing with these people day in and day out in college. And it is such an unbelievable experience doing that with your friends that you're going to have for life. I'm going to tell you this. The other thing about being a student athlete that is going to make you guys really good at this process is you inherently have these given talents, right? Given talents like discipline, hard work, your leaders, your team players. You understand sacrifice for the sake of your team. That isn't even a thing for you. You understand team, right? In the workforce, you understand how to collaborate with other people to succeed and get things done. Okay. You understand you have a passion. You love something, right? A lot of people spend their whole lives finding that. And we've already all found that, right? And you're problem solvers. All of these skill sets are not only going to be great for you in this process, but they are going to help you in life. Okay. So obviously I am the biggest fan of being an athlete, and sorry for those first 3 slides. But again, as was said, I am very honest with everybody about this process because it's not easy. Okay, here we go. First half, that was your intro. First half, we're in the first half of the game right now. And what I'm going to try to explain to you is, where can I play? Remember, I just asked you to expand your list. You have to look at many different places to play. But to do that, you have to know where you can play. And there's a variety of different places to play. And some people only look at one of them. Okay. So we're going to look at all of them really quickly. Then we'll get to halftime and I'll explain how you do this. So first off, Division I, this is the bling. This is what you see on TV all the time. We are in March Madness. We are heading into the Final Four weekend right now. It is Division I teams. And a lot of these D1 teams are really Power 5 conferences, right? So they're Pac-12, the SEC, the ACC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, all these monster conferences with tons of money and resources and TV time, okay? It is a very high visibility level division, right? With big budgets. You're going to have gear and trainers and lots of coaches, strength coaches, doctors, PTs, nutritionists. These are all on campus for you. Massage therapists, sports psych people, okay? You're going to have academic advisors. You're going to get all sorts of perk and gear. At the top D1 programs, it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff, okay? So there's big budgets. There's high visibility. Now, what do you have to give for all of that? A huge commitment. Division I is a full-time job. My son came home from his Division I soccer team his sophomore year and said, "We're not student athletes." And I'm like, "What are you guys?" And he said, "We're athletes that sometimes go to school. And we're lucky if we have asynchronous classes because it's really hard because we're gone all the time." And I was like, "Yeah, I tried to tell you that before you did this, but maybe you didn't hear." But if you love it, you love it. And that's what you want to do. Now, just so you know, there's big scholarship, big money, except the Ivy League. For anyone on here that's interested in the Ivy League, know that they do not give aid for athletics. Okay, so there's no scholarship money for Ivy Leagues. As I told you before, D1 football is allowed 85 full rides, right? So there's a lot of money in this business. Now, in terms of the NC2A and all of that, I'm going to show you what you need to do. Okay, this is how I want you, and you could be doing this now while you're listening to me. You need to look at rosters. Pick a school you're interested in. You better, and the sport you're playing, right? Obviously, I chose Alabama football roster because they're very famous and they have monster kids on the team. And I want you to look at the roster and compare yourself to these other athletes. Okay, how big are they? How much do they weigh? Is that important in your sport? What year in school are they? What if you're a catcher or a goalkeeper or a point guard? They don't want 4 of you on the team. When are they going to graduate? Look at their years, maybe add an extra year on that for that COVID year, but compare yourself. Click on the names of these people and find out where they played, who they played, what accolades they earned in their sport. And are you on that same track, right? So for example, look down here at the bottom, number 73, Evan Neal, right? Offensive lineman. He is 6'7" and 350 pounds. Now, if you're a football player on this, and maybe you're a sophomore, maybe you're 5'8", you're 135, you may not hit or want to get hit by Evan Neal on the offensive line. He could kill somebody that's smaller. So maybe you need to look for a football program that doesn't have as big guys. Another example of this, even in my sport in soccer, the women's soccer team at Washington State University, if you look at their roster, almost all their players are 5'9" or taller. The coach likes tall women. He likes tall women, and they play a run and gun air game, right? So look at the rosters, because it not only tells you about the individual athletes, but it can tell you about the style of play and who the coach wants to recruit. Another example, Oregon State men's soccer. All starting 11 are not from this country, right? Now, does that mean you can't play there? Well, it means you're going to have a hard time playing there if he only recruits foreign players. Okay, so check out roster size, experience, position, and grad year matters. And it also can tell you a lot about what the coach wants to recruit. Okay, and don't just look at D1 rosters. So D2, and I told you we're going quick. So if you have questions, put them in the chat. D2 is the tweener. It's the middle child in Division 1, 2, and 3, right? It's not the high visible bling, bling, bling of D1, but it's also not the no athletic scholarship of D3 either. Okay, so it's right in the middle. It's not quite as visible or demanding as Division 1, but it's still a very big commitment. There's less money in Division 2 programs, and there are fewer sports in Division 2 programs. Okay, so for example, that 85 football, I'm going to keep going back to that 85 football scholarships in Division 1. Division 2 is only allowed 36. And right there is about the difference in how many resources are put into Division 1 versus Division 2. Does Division 2 have scholarships? Yes, they just don't have as many. A lot of D2 teams, like D1 might have 20 different teams in their program. D2 might have 9 or 10, and they may not have football because they're deciding to use their money on other sports. So you really have to look at D2. It's a great place to look because the eligibility requirements are a little bit more relaxed. The recruiting requirements are a little bit more relaxed. A lot of CSUs in the state of California are Division 2, like SF State, East Bay, Chico, Humboldt, Sonoma, Monterey, all those schools, right? So kind of think about there. Some are bigger, some are smaller, and they all still give money for theirs. Okay. Now, I heard we had a couple track or cross country people on here. You don't have it easy if you have a time attached to your sport, but you have it a little bit easier, right? It's not easy to run. I know that. I only run to play soccer, but what you guys get to do is you can go to rosters and look at times. Okay, what do they run this event in? What do I run that event in? Okay, I'm only a sophomore or I'm a junior. This year, am I marching up my time or am I cutting my time, I should say? Okay, if there's any rowers out there, right? It's all about your erg time. What does that look like? Go to the website, find out what these erg times are and see if that fits your trajectory or your potential. And then is that a good school for you, right? So look at the times, look at the websites because all the information is there, right? It is there. I heard we have a tennis player, so just going to give a little quick tennis story. The Cal men's tennis coach is a friend of mine, the old one. And I said, how do you do this? You're all done with rankings. You just like take players off the rankings list and decide to recruit them. And he's like, well, that's the first part. And I'm like, so how do you do it? And he's like, well, in California, we go after the top 3 ranked recruits, top 3 in California. In US, we go after the top 10 ranked recruits. And in the world, we look at the top 2,000. And then after that, we're looking for fit, right? So very serious men's and women's tennis. They recruit a lot of internationals, right? Which makes it harder for US kids, but you just need to look more broadly, okay? So look at websites, do your research. And if you're a swimmer, a runner, or you have a time, a handicap, a ranking, check the rankings and see where these kids are going. You should have a better idea of which schools to apply to or start trying to be recruited by. Okay, D3. D1 and D2 are over here. D3 is over here, philosophically. Division 3 was created as the balance, okay? It's the biggest division of all 3 of them, which people don't know about. And you are a student and an athlete. You're a student first. They have shorter seasons. They have less travel time. Most of the schools you're on a bus, you're traveling around, you're not flying across country for games and missing school. Less training sessions, right? Fewer games. So they manage your schedule better. You are not going to miss class for a practice in Division 3. In Division I, you're going to schedule classes around your practice times, right? And your video times and your eating times and your travel times and all of that. So you're going to be taking classes in Division I at really bizarre times, right? Not in D3. Most of the schools have school all day. And just like you're doing now with your club teams, or your high school teams, you train after school's out. So it's much easier to manage. There are no athletic scholarships for this. And each campus determines their own eligibility requirements, which is kind of nice because then you can look at a lot of different ones. Now, test scores, no test scores are required for D3, and no test scores are required for D2, and no test scores are required for D1. As of January, the NC2A decided that they are no longer going to require test scores. They are not test optional. They are not test blind or test free. There's just no test scores required. Now, should you still take the test, the SAT or the ACT? That is a question you need to go talk to your counselor about, because some schools are bringing back the SAT. Some states might bring back the SAT. You already probably heard about that all today, but you need to talk to your counselor. If you're just a good test taker and you're going to apply to some test optional schools, you might want to take the test. If you're not, you may want to talk to your counselor and not do it. The only thing about D3 I want to tell you specifically, there are a couple exceptions to the D3 schools. Colorado College is one of those, where they play Division I women's soccer and Division I men's hockey. The NCAA allows D3 schools who can afford to do this to bump up in one sport in each gender. Okay, so Johns Hopkins does this. They're a D3 school, but in lacrosse, men's and women's, they bump up. You'll find this in a lot of lacrosse programs and some hockey programs in general for Division III. Now, D3, some of the conferences, right? Everyone talks about the NESCAC. It's this New England conference that has all these big name selective schools. And if you are an athlete and they want you, it can help you with admissions, right? I've always wanted to go to Tufts, right? I love Tufts. It's a perfect school. If you're a good athlete and you're on the top of their recruiting list, they could help you get in. It can be a feather in your admissions cap, okay? We also have a very selective group of schools called the SCIAC in Southern California. Pomona-Pitzer, Claremont-Mudd Scripps, Caltech, Oxy, Redlands, Whittier, Chapman. It's a great conference also. And if you are on top of their recruiting list, you can get help getting admitted to these schools, okay? Now, remember, this is not always a sure thing. Timelines vary. Remember, I said there's no guarantees in all of this, but I'm telling you all the places you need to be looking to find out where you want to get recruited by, okay? Now, how do we know which sport has which division at which college? So there's this great map. And if you have a phone right now and you're not listening to me on the phone, you want to use it, Google NC2A membership map. Hit directory, and then up will pop this map. Feel free to do it right now. I play on this website all the time because who knew there were so many women's rifle teams in the country? And I was like, where are they? Where are they? And you can probably guess where they all are, you know, at different schools. But there's a filter on the left-hand side. You can filter by your sport. So obviously I picked soccer, obviously. So I have men's soccer on top. I have women's soccer on the bottom, and I only picked D1. So you can see how many programs there are. So you can see right away, there's just not that many men's soccer Division I schools. 335 for the women, 204 for the men, right? Tragic when you're coaching a team of boys. But you will also notice that it skews towards the East Coast, right? There's a lot more programs out east. So take a look at your sport and figure out, where can I play? Now, as I told you, we would circle back around to ice hockey, and I selected women's ice hockey. Remember, 25% of the girls from high school go off and play in college, which is a huge percentage. But it's because ice hockey programs for women are only located in certain places. Obviously, there's more snow and ice where they play, right? So here I selected Division I, which is blue, 2, orange, Division III is in green, right? And you can see there's just not that many programs, and they all play each other, and it's highly international. A ton of Canadians are playing in our NC2A men's and women's hockey programs. So take a look at this website. It's a great way to kind of figure out where you could play and to add schools maybe that you didn't know about to your list. Now, before we go to the second half of the program, there are 3 other places that I need to talk about that you can play, okay? One is the NAIA. So NC2A now, Division 1, 2, and 3 is over here. They're all under one roof. The NAIA is a parallel association like the NC2A. They do not overlap. They do not touch. They have different rules and eligibility and requirements. They have their own membership map, the NAIA. Think of the NAIA as about like a Division 2 level of play, okay? They have some athletic scholarships, but not as much as D1, okay? They have a membership map, similar in recruiting to and eligibility to D2. And there are many private faith-based and smaller schools, right? That said, UC Merced is a NAIA school. So some of the newer, since they're the newest UC, they came through the NAIA athletic program instead. So look at NAIA, look at their membership map. And also, this was the college club sports was the place that most of my players went to. I had 5 players go D1, 2 go D2. This is over 2 years of coaching a U19 boys team. I had 8 go D3, and 15 of my guys are still playing college club soccer across the country, okay? It's a real thing to play college club sports. So if, for example, let's say your dream school is UCLA. That's the school I've always wanted to go to, but the UCLA coach says, you know what, your times aren't good enough, or we've already recruited for your position, we don't need any more, or we're just not recruiting your position this year, we don't need a goalkeeper, right? But this is your dream school and you still want to go, try out for the UCLA men's club team or the women's club team in whatever your sport is. My guys tried out. There were 108 guys trying out for 8 spots. It's competitive, right? They don't have scholarships, and they may have to fundraise, right? But they have coaches, uniforms, regional and national titles. So think about college club sports while you're going through this process. And then finally, if you are not ready, and I mean, you're not athletically ready, right? You're not like Evan Neal, 350-pound football guy yet, but you might be in a couple of years. So you might not be athletically ready, or academically, maybe you had a terrible COVID year, or maybe you just didn't do as well academically and you need a little bit more time, or financially you're not ready, socially you don't want to leave home yet. Whatever the reasons are, if you're not ready, think about community colleges. And if you're an athlete, think about community colleges that do well in your sport. Community colleges in the Bay Area, they all are good at a different sport, right? The big football powerhouses are, these two community colleges. The soccer ones are different. So make sure, if you're looking at the community college, make sure that the coaches of that program have a history of sending players off from a 2-year to a 4-year program successfully. And if they do have a history of that, it will be all over the internet, right? Because they're going to be bragging about it. So don't discount community college. Some people might just need it to get more ready. Okay. I'm taking a drink of water because we are at halftime right now. And then we're going to load back up. Let's see how I'm doing. Ooh, I'm okay. I'm getting there. So first half was, where can I play? So you should be thinking about all these different colleges. Remember, you need a bigger list, right? Because of all these tragedies that have occurred for us, you need a bigger list. Now it's, after I have my list and I've found my athletic fit, how do I get recruited by these schools? Well, the process is different for white chips and blue chips. And I just termed this with athletes because it's an easy way to think about it. For those of you that have been to Vegas and gambled a little bit, you want blue chips in front of you because they are a higher value chip. We're going to go with the blue chip is $10 and the white chip is $1, right? So these blue chip athletes, they're the 2%. They're the ones that get the full ride. They're the ones that don't need my help in the process. They're getting recruited early, often. They're like, their doors are getting taken down by college coaches, right? They're the ones where you're out at a tournament or you're out on a pool deck and there's a bunch of college coaches because there's one unicorn in the water swimming and everybody knows that person because they have the best times, right? That's the blue chip athlete. As you can see here, I chose Megan Rapinoe, fabulous soccer player that I tried to recruit to Cal desperately back in the day. Thought she would be a great fit for UC Berkeley because she's a crazy outspoken activist and an amazing soccer player, but she went to University of Portland and won a national title there. So be it. She's doing fabulous for our game. I don't hold it against her that she said no to us. And below her, Michael Jordan, for those of you who are my age, he was the GOAT. He was it. When I played high school basketball, I wanted to play like him. Okay. He is Nike. Michael Jordan, he got cut you probably know this story. The GOAT got cut by the varsity coach of his high school team during his sophomore year. Okay. So even this GOAT didn't get to play on varsity as a sophomore. He had to wait till his junior year to play on varsity, which he pretty much crushed everything, became an All-American, had offers at UNC, Syracuse, Duke, South Carolina, all these different programs. And he went to UNC and became a Tar Heel, right? And then he went out and obviously became the Chicago Bulls GOAT. So these people, they don't need my help, right? They don't. And if you know a unicorn, a blue chip unicorn athlete, you want to be on her team, right? Because college coaches are going to watch her and they might see you too. Now, we may have some unicorns in here, so that would be good. If you're a unicorn, just manage the process, okay? And listen to your coaches. Now, white chips, okay? White chip athletes, this is me. This is the majority of us. This is 98%. We must market ourselves. You need to be your own agent. You need to be good at managing this process, okay? I have to say it, this process, athletic recruiting, getting exposure to college coaches, it's a business. I used to laugh when parents would come in and ask me when I was coaching at Cal, and they'd bring their freshman daughters to me, and, we'd have our welcome tailgate, and they're like, so how do you decide who to play? Do you play the seniors? Do you play the girls with the most scholarship money? And I would just laugh because I play the 11 that are going to get me the win. I mean, if I don't win, I get fired. If I get fired, I can't pay my mortgage, right? Like, I love coaching. I don't want to get fired. So I'm not going to play the seniors. I'm going to play the people that are best for the positions. And it's just different. Okay. So it's very different. It's a business. What I need you to do is go out and ask your coaches about your level of play, whether it's a club coach, a high school coach, a trainer, whoever you're working with that knows the college game in your sport, ask them about your potential level of college play. Should I be looking at D1s, D2s, D3s, NAIAs? Would 2 years of community college be better for me? Or if I really want to go to this school, maybe I should play college club. Ask them, okay? You have them around all the time now, so have a conversation with them, let them know your goals, and ask them what they think so you can narrow your search in a best fit way, right? Standardized testing, we talked about that, no longer required for NC2A, although it may be required for admissions for some schools. So talk to your college counselors before you take that leap and start prepping for those tests, okay? You're going to create a resume and a profile. I'm going to talk about that. You're going to create an email cover letter. We'll talk about that. You need to register for the NC2A or NAIA or both eligibility center by your junior year so that both of those organizations know that you are taking the right classes, that you are not just a pretend student, right? Because that's what you need to be eligible to play a college sport. Look at the membership map, start building your list, make a big list and make contact. You need to make contact. Now, I say that all the time. And then I meet with players and they're like, yeah, I sent out an email to I sent it to 15 coaches. And I'm like, okay, when did you send it? And they're like 6 months ago. I'm like, whoa, 6 months ago? And they're like, yeah. And they never wrote me back. And I'm like, you can't be one and done. You cannot send one email and think that that's what they're going to see. College coaches are getting thousands of emails, okay, every month into their inbox. So you have to keep continuing to make contact. One evaluation is nowhere near enough, okay? So be your own agent, cast a wide net, and start reaching out to colleges. Now, I know you have been beaten to death by social media stuff with your parents and your teachers and everybody in your life, but it does matter. Student athletes are getting offers rescinded because of stuff that coaches are finding on social media. 85% of college coaches will stalk your social media. And if a lot of students are like, oh, I just keep all my stuff private. And I'm like, well, if a coaches see that you have a private social media account, they're going to wonder what you're hiding. Why is it private? Why aren't you posting stuff about how great your team is or your new personal best time or whatever you're doing, or that you got invited to be MVP at this camp, right? So what I say is make it work for you, not against you. Keep it classy, right? If this is the reason that you get an offer rescinded, shame on you after all the work you've done to be so good at your sport, right? So humbly post your accomplishments, be that dorky kid. Set up a social media account just for your sport if you want, and have another one just for your friends. Monitor what your friends are posting and liking or putting on your social media, because coaches will judge that too. Use it to follow and like coaches, teams, programs, colleges, right? So if you're going to use it for good. Building an online presence can help. And in some sports, football, baseball, a lot of different sports, it's kind of mandatory, because if you get DM'd on Twitter by a football coach, that means they're interested in you finally. So you better set one up, okay? You can ask questions about that, but it has become a thing since COVID, because online presence just matters more and more and more and more. Okay. Sample athletic resume. This is a great way just to put everything down that you've done. I mean, not since, kindergarten, but put everything down that you've done, so you can track your accomplishments in the sport. If you've been asked to an Olympic development team, or you won an MVP, or you're most improved, or you're on you're on an all-star team, or whatever, you're invited to a certain, different level of play. Put all that down so that it's really easy to have at your fingertips when coaches ask you for it, okay? This resume and profile can be used to post at different online, software systems, which we'll talk about. Send to college coaches. It can help fill out recruiting questionnaires, and it can help with your college activities list, okay? So this is not busy work, and it's good to have, and it's good to remember all these awesome things that you've already done in your sport. Okay. Sample cover letter. This is your email, your first email, your initial contact email that you're going to send out. This is overkill. I just put everything on here that you could say in an initial contact email, but this is way too long for a normal coach to read. Make it short and sweet. Send it to all coaches, right? If there is a recruiting coordinator, like a lot of football programs have, or basketball programs, make sure they're on there. If you're a goalkeeper, put the goalkeeper coach on there. Include the head coach. You don't know who's managing the recruiting in the office. Oftentimes it's not the head coach, right? It's the assistant coach or the associate head coach. So put them all on there until you start a relationship with one of them. In the subject line, be consistent. Have your name and your grad year in every subject line. College coaches sometimes can make contact with you, and sometimes they can't if you're too young. So they need to know your grad year. Stop thinking about your birth year. I know you're like, I'm an 07, I'm an 06 on this soccer team. They want to know what year you're going to graduate from high school, because that's the first year you're going to be playing in college. So use your grad year on everything. Very simply, the first paragraph is just kind of an intro. Obviously, lead with your strengths. If your strengths is a time or a ranking that you have, lead with that. If it's your GPA, lead with that. If it's some crazy test score that you got, lead with that. Lead with your strengths. Let them ask about the other things. If it's your height, because you're a 6'4" goalkeeper and you're only a sophomore, awesome. Lead with that. Okay. The second paragraph talks about making a connection with a program. So something specific about their school, their program, the coach, or their team. If you know a player there from your club that's already playing there, or from your high school, or if a parent went there or a grandparent went there, or if you've already visited the college, if you know something, that's great. If you don't, go online and look at their schedule. Congratulate them on a win, okay? Congratulate them on a new recruit that they got, because you saw that on social media that they just signed this great player, and you just want to congratulate them that. It was great when I got things in the office and they really talked about our program and how we were doing, like the recruit was following us, which was really cool. The third line is in some sports, they can't write you back. Like in soccer, they cannot write you back until after June 15th of your sophomore year. So it's nice if you're a freshman or sophomore and you're writing them to let them know that you know that, and they're not just ghosting you. They're just not allowed to write you back. And in that case, you may want to put your coach's contact information there, your high school coach or your club coach, because they can contact your coaches, but they can't contact you about recruiting until a certain date based on the NC2A. Finally, okay, I would create an email for this process. If I had to do it again with my kid, remember parents, how exhausting this process is, I would just have an email with your name and your grad year in it. And maybe your sport, like maybe you'd say, John Smith, I'm a 2027 soccer, right? @gmail.com. That way, when you're going to get spammed by all these programs because you're writing them, it's all just crushing one email. And you can save your school email or your personal email for other things, right? So I would do that. And then the other thing I would do, I would add an email signature to your email. Go into settings, create a signature. So your name, your grad year, your high school, your GPA, your club team, your position, your cell phone, your social media handles, if you're using them for the sport, and a link to your video is all there. And it goes out every time you send an email, which is also why it's really nice to have your own email for this process. Because, you know, if your friend emails you, which I'm sure they don't in high school, nobody uses email in your age group, but you're going to have to start doing this. You're not going to have this signature going out to everyone. So it's really nice to kind of have a specific thing. Organize. Parents, help your child organize this process so they can get ready for it. Okay. Remember, I just talked about the NC2A rules in that email cover letter. Know the rules for your sport. Okay. And tragically for all of us, the NC2A rules are different based on sport, based on division, based on gender. They vary all the time. So go check them out, the NC2A or the NAIA. They're a little less restrictive for your specific sport. So you know if a coach is allowed to talk to you or write you back. A lot of coaches can't talk to you at a tournament. It's just illegal, right? So when you go say hi to them and they're like, hey, I can't talk to you, it's not like they're blowing you off. They're just not allowed to. So familiarize yourself with the NC2A rules so you know when you're getting ghosted, but you also know when they just can't talk to you and maybe they want to. Okay. So you've sent out your initial contact letter email to, let's just say 30 schools, right? Big list, right? We want a big, big list. I know counselors are just like, oh, 30 schools, that's way too many. Well, for normal students, that is way too many, but not for athletes, because what if they recruit a goalkeeper or a point guard or an offensive lineman and they don't want you anymore because they already filled the position? You got to look to your next one, right? So have a big list, track coaches' responses and non-responses. I'm going to show you a tracking sheet. Fill out questionnaires. I'm going to show you a questionnaire and a little cheat sheet on how to do that. Complete any free and easy profiles. If you can post your profile in different places, post it, okay? Because you don't know where coaches are going to be able to find you. If you're a lacrosse player out there, you guys are so lucky. You have one system to put all your information into, and the coaches all look at that one system. It's beautiful. Soccer players, not so much. Okay. Make a short highlight video and send the link. I'm going to talk about that. Stay in contact with coaches. Send emails early. Send your emails from the old email chain so they know you've already written them. Make it really easy for college coaches to remember you because they're getting inundated with emails and contacts. Visit campuses. We're really lucky here in the Bay Area. We have a lot of campuses that you can go visit within a drive of a day. Go to games, watch matches and meets. Go see if you can compete at that level. Try to let the coach know you're there. Even if they can't talk to you, send them an email and say, that was a great swim meet I went to the other day. Fantastic watching so-and-so win in this event, right? Attend ID camps, summer camps, prospect camps, combines, tourneys, all of those invitational camps, and make sure to let them know that you are there. You need to tell coaches that you're attending these things to get exposure. Study rosters. Keep your high school counselor in the loop, right? Do not be that ghosted kid, because I have known coaches who have called high school counselors to get character references on the student athletes. So let them know what you're doing. And the goal of this whole thing is not to just be sending emails back and forth for the next 2 years. It's to build a relationship. It's to get seen by these coaches, to get to a call, a text, or a visit. Okay. Parents, if you are at a track meet and you see some parent wearing that Bowdoin sweatshirt and that's where your kid wants to go talk to them. Ask them what the pitfalls were in the process, how they got through them. Listen to the veterans who are wearing the sweatshirts. Okay, sorry. Here we go. Little boom. Okay, tracking templates. So I said, organize, organize, organize. So what you need to do is set up a very simple Google Sheet to track all your contacts. Put the names of the colleges, the division, maybe how big they are is important. It was very important to this kid that I worked with. He wanted a small experience, a D3 experience. The names of the coaches, all of the coaches on there, When you send the emails, when you receive the emails, this guy liked to put the red emails were the really good ones, like they were very personal. So he liked that. See who's not returning emails. Who are you getting ghosted by, right? When you complete questionnaires, write the date you did it. If you get to go on campus and watch a game or take a tour, or you know a player at the school, make a column for that. Make columns for things that are important to you, including majors of study, including regions of the country, or maybe it's not in a city and you really want an urban experience. Write down the things that are important to you and document them on this tracking spreadsheet. So you, your counselor, your parents, your aunt, your uncle, your brother, sister, whoever's helping you with this process can look at it too with you. This is the bane of my existence as a parent, the recruiting questionnaires. In soccer, there are 100. So these questionnaires are on the athletic websites. They want recruits to fill them out. There are 120 questions on the soccer questionnaire. Now, do I want my son studying US history his junior year or filling out these questionnaires? It's kind of painful. If you can get help on this, this is a great part of the process for a parent or an aunt or uncle or an older brother to help with, right? These sample questionnaires take really a long time, but they set up an e-file in the office for you. They let coaches know you're interested and you get on their spam list. So you will start getting camp information from them and just lots of content will come out. Again, it's why you want to have a fresh email for this process. So the one cheat, which is great, a good cheat is recruitspot.com. About half the colleges in the country use RecruitSpot to help autofill these questionnaires. So go to RecruitSpot, complete one questionnaire for free. And when you open up the websites, cross your fingers and hope that they use RecruitSpot. It says, do you use RecruitSpot? And you click yes, and it autofills all your information and you save hours and hours and hours of work. I wish we had found that out earlier because this was a full pain in the butt. Okay, the video. Videos are more important than ever now, okay? Videos are important because everything was online during COVID, and that's the only way that coaches were allowed to watch players. So you need a video. They're different for every sport. I'm sorry. Baseball, skills videos are great. Goalkeepers in soccer, skills videos are great. Soccer players don't do skills videos, field players, right? Talk to your coaches about this. It's short and sweet. It's 3 to 5 minutes. It's 20 to 30 clips, best to worst. If you don't impress them in the first 30 seconds, it will be deleted. Get a video and post it on your own YouTube channel. You can do this yourself. You do not need to hire somebody to do this. I'm sure the kids sitting next to you in class could do it, or someone else could help you with it. But it's a huge part of the process, and it's a great way to get attention. You're not going to get an offer on just based on a video, but you could get some attention and get coaches to come watch you play because of the video. Okay. Blue chip or white chip? I know you can't answer me right now. Some of you probably know. Steph Curry, okay, one of my favorites, having a rough season. I mean, the Warriors are having a rough season right now, but still one of my favorites. Mom and dad both went to Virginia Tech, and I got to go fast to tell you this story. He got no offers from the Power 5 conferences. He got remember, basketball's an all or nothing scholarship. You get everything or zero. He got zero from all the Power 5 conferences. And even though his parents were legacies at Virginia Tech, they offered him a non-paid walk-on position. And he just said, I'm not doing that. He chose to go to Davidson College in North Carolina, the smallest Division I college in the country, and he dominated. And then he came out and he is who he is. We all know this in the Bay Area today, so I don't have to explain to you. To his right is Alex Morgan. She didn't start playing soccer competitive travel soccer until she was 14 years old. Okay. I got to find her. Well, I didn't find her. She was already there, and nobody was recruiting her because they didn't know who she was. Found her in Moscow, Idaho. She was unbelievable. I was there to see another player who ended up at UCLA on her team. And after I saw her, I'm like, this is our full ride. And within 3 months after that date, her junior year, we had offered her a full ride, and boom, she's done. She's just an amazing, amazing athlete with just goals that she accomplished over and over throughout her career. I could tell you 100 stories, but I don't have time because it's already 8:02. So I'm not going to, but you could ask me if you want in the chat. Anyway, both of these are white chips. They started out as white chips. Now, I'm not saying this is going to, you're all Alex Morgan and Steph Curry's out there, but it can happen, right? So you need to work as hard at this process as you do on your game to make this happen and have the kind of goals and set expectations that these two set for themselves and their teams. Okay, get out your phones. Take a picture of this. I'm going to slow my talking down because everything I just said is kind of on this one to-do list in order that I said it. Okay. So take a picture. I'm going to keep talking. The bottom line here is at the bottom, be your own agent. You need to be reaching out to coaches. You need to be having conversation with coaches. You need to play well in front of coaches. Okay. This isn't about your mom doing it or your dad or your uncle. Okay. You need to do this for yourself. Coaches, college coaches want to form a relationship with you, right? Because you're going to be in their family for 4 years or 5, and they want to form a relationship. Okay. I'm going to the next one. Resources, all the things I talked about, right? The interactive map, the membership map, recruitspot.com. I put in college club soccer because they have a league and a whole thing. And college club lacrosse has one too. So go to your sport if college club is the way you want to go, or maybe a backup for you because you might not get in. You might not get a roster spot at your dream college. So have that as a backup and use these resources wisely. And then finally, put your questions in the chat. The last piece of advice I'm going to have for you guys is development. You need to get better at your sport. We can't lose sight of your sport through all this like administrative process of recruiting. Get better. What are you doing when you're not with your team and you're not with your coach to develop in your game, in your craft? What are you doing? And if you can answer that well, those are the players that I've seen go off to the best programs. Okay, because they have a mission, a personal mission to succeed. Second thing is, if you're looking at D3 colleges, I've found it's not always the best players that go off. Sometimes it's just the players who are really good at managing this process and really good at their game because they're good at the recruiting game, right? So be good at both. Be good at the recruiting game, be good at your game. And this could happen for you guys, okay? Even with those kill the dream slides. Sorry about that. Okay, I think I hit it. I think we have a few minutes for questions. I tried to go as fast as I could.
You're amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, we do have some questions.
Okay.
Question. Have you worked with anyone who had Division I talent but decided to go D3 because of the academic prioritization? And did they have any regrets?
You know what? I've had a lot of players do that. And they don't have regrets because they love the school they chose, right? And at a lot of those D3 colleges, there's like 20 to 25% are student athletes on campus. You go to a big monster college like Cal with 40,000 people, there's 800 athletes. You go to a Claremont McKenna, there's a quarter of the students there are athletes. Like it's kind of a cool thing. So yeah, not a lot of regrets. I mean, maybe one, it's harder to go pro from D3. And if that's kind of your end game, then that's a different deal.
Great, thank you. For an athlete's resume, should they talk about high school athletic accomplishments outside of the recruited sport? Do you think that matters? So like a recruited soccer player talking about their track times.
If it's a like sport, right? A soccer player talking about how good they are in the water would be weird. But if you do track and field on the outside, like I loved seeing track times for soccer because you're like, ooh, this girl's fast. Like, look at her 100, right? Or this girl runs like her 2 mile, she could be a midfielder, right? So if they're complementary, yes, right? Football and rugby, water polo and swimming, soccer and track, lacrosse and track, then yes. Football and, a lot, track and field and track. So yes.
Great, thank you. How early in high school should students be sending out those interest emails or filling out the contact forms?
Oh my God, this is the hardest question and I don't have much time, but it depends, okay? Which we all talk about in college counseling, it's the dreaded. In general, girls commit earlier than boys in the process. Okay, specifically girls in sports like softball, soccer, lacrosse, volleyball. Okay, Track girls are committing later. In track and field in general and cross country, it's more of a junior year thing because your times are just getting cut so great in your junior year, right? So it depends on the sport, and it also depends on the division. Division I is looking earlier, like especially in soccer, they are committing girls after June 15th of their sophomore year, the top group. You know, the national team players, the top group, right, are going early. But there are also players in Division III that are going, you know, September of senior year, right before that November early decision, early action date. Baseball players, I've seen some picked up in spring of their senior year, and that freaks me out as a college counselor, but that does happen too. Don't plan on that, but that does happen.
Perfect. Do you use Huddle?
Huddle is awesome for football. All football uses Huddle. If you are not using Huddle and you're a football player, you are losing it, right? If you're a soccer player, Huddle's kind of hard to transfer onto like iMovie and all of that. I would stick with iMovie and a YouTube channel for soccer and other sports because Huddle's hard to move, right? It's really made for football.
Great. How important is a highlight video for sports that have quantifiable times like track or rowing or swimming?
So they want to see you do your craft, like especially swimming and rowing. They want to see you. Now, do you need a video if you have a time? If your time is good, you don't need a video. And at cross country, really, what are we going to do? Try chase you around with our camera? Yeah. So, you know, if you're a sprinter, though, you're running a 100-yard dash or you're doing hurdles. Yeah, they're going to want to see that, right? But 2 miles, probably not. And in the water, they do like to see you, but they like to see you live. So if your times are good, they will find a way to come watch you. Great questions, by the way.
Yeah, great questions. Any thoughts on usefulness of sites like NCSA college recruiting?
Oh, the dread. You guys are really killing me tonight. This is good questions. So NCSA, it is not a coincidence that they named themselves something similar to the NC2A. So it's very confusing, right? Because I just told you to register for the NC2A Eligibility Center and people go on and then they're paying $3,000 to get a recruiting coordinator for NCSA. Now, anything you can do for free, right? If you can post on NCSA website for free, do it. Don't use the emails that they give you because coaches will delete those, college coaches. But if you can post for free, they have a fantastic website that has like erg times for D1, D2, D3 players, you know, baseball qualities for all these other players. Use their resources, but I wouldn't pay the big bucks because you're not going to get as much personal attention, and coaches want to hear from you, not NCSA recruiters.
Okay, JT, you're going to understand this, but I'm just going to read the words off the teleprompter because this is not my language. For soccer, is it better to go to college through playing on a pretty good ECNL team or playing on an MLS Next team that is not affiliated with a professional team and only has a youth academy?
Oh, this is a good one. Sorry for everyone else who's not a soccer player. Okay. That's a challenging question. I would ask you like 5 questions right now to get more context to answer this appropriately. So I'm not going to give a specific answer to you, but in general, okay, MLS Next, this person knows this, associated with the academy is the best place to play. Then ECNL, then NPL, okay? And it's pretty much like the top programs are looking here, then the D3s down here. So yes, but if you're affiliated with an MLS Next team that's not affiliated with an academy, it's not quite as strong. So the best thing to do, ask the question, where are they going for tournaments? Where am I going to get seen? How many showcases am I going to be seen at? What are we signed up for? What did the team do last year? How many college coaches are going to see me? When you start your high school thing, that's what's important, sadly, is where am I going to be seen? So ask those questions to both teams and find out how many opportunities you will have for exposure based on that club team and how good they are. And finally, is the coach good? Is this coach going to help you develop? And is this coach going to advocate for you with college coaches? Do they have a history of sending players off to the top programs? Those are the types of questions you should ask before you make a decision. And sorry that you have to make that. That's a May's coming up for tryouts. I get it.
Well, JT, we're at exactly time. On behalf of everyone here, I'm giving you a huge round of applause. Thank you for your wisdom, your insights, your humor. And everyone, if you want to reach out to JT, her contact information is on the screen, and we will be sharing out this recording with the community. And with that, I will say good night.
Good luck, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.